Let me ask you this. Have you ever gone for a routine checkup, feeling perfectly fine, only to hear your doctor say your blood pressure is a little high? For many of my patients in their 50s, 60s, and beyond, that moment can be surprising, even a little scary. You don't feel sick, yet suddenly there's this invisible number telling you something is off. I often hear stories like this. Someone is sitting at their kitchen table with their morning coffee, checking their blood pressure on a home monitor, and noticing those numbers creeping higher and higher. It's frustrating, and sometimes it feels like just another thing to worry about as we age. Maybe you've even thought to yourself, do I really have to take medication for the rest of my life just to control this? If so, you're not alone. High blood pressure, what we call hypertension, affects nearly half of adults in the United States, and it's especially common after the age of 50. The tricky part is, it doesn't usually cause symptoms you can feel, yet it quietly raises the risk of stroke, heart attack, kidney problems, and more. But here's the good news. There are very real, very practical steps you can take to lower your blood pressure naturally without relying only on medication. I've seen so many of my patients right here in America make small but powerful changes that not only brought their numbers down but also gave them more energy, better sleep, and a stronger sense of control over their health. Today, I want to share with you the most effective ways to keep your blood pressure in a healthy range, naturally. We're going to talk about food, exercise, lifestyle tweaks, and daily habits that really make a difference. These are not complicated medical tricks. They're simple changes that can fit into your everyday life, whether you're retired and spending time with your grandkids or still working and juggling busy days. By the end of this video, you'll not only know what works, but you'll also feel confident that these steps are doable for you, no matter your age or current health. Think of it as a roadmap, not just for lowering your blood pressure, but for living with more vitality and peace of mind. Let's begin with something very basic but very powerful: what you eat. The foods you choose every day can either push your blood pressure higher or help bring it back into balance. One of the best approaches is what we call the DASH diet, which stands for Dietary Approaches to Stop Hypertension. Don't worry, it's not about strict dieting or counting every calorie. It's about filling your plate with colorful fruits and vegetables, whole grains like oatmeal or brown rice, lean proteins such as chicken, fish, or beans, and plenty of foods rich in potassium like bananas, spinach, and sweet potatoes. Potassium acts like nature's balancing mineral. It helps your body get rid of excess sodium, which is one of the main culprits behind high blood pressure. Speaking of sodium, let's pause here. In the US, a lot of hidden salt sneaks into our diets through processed foods, things like canned soups, frozen dinners, packaged snacks, and even bread. I remember one of my patients who swore she didn't use much salt at the table, but when we looked at her daily meals, we discovered most of it was coming from the convenience foods she loved. Once she began cooking more at home and seasoning with herbs, garlic, and lemon instead of salt, her blood pressure dropped within weeks. That small adjustment gave her confidence that she really could take charge of her health. Now let's talk about movement. You don't need to run marathons or spend hours in a gym to help your blood pressure. Simple, consistent activity is what matters most. Daily walking is one of the most effective tools you have. Imagine yourself strolling through your neighborhood, greeting neighbors, maybe walking your dog, or just enjoying the sunshine. 30 minutes a day of brisk walking can lower blood pressure numbers as effectively as some medications. The key is consistency, not intensity. And if walking outside isn't always possible, you can march in place while watching TV, climb stairs in your home, or even put on some music and dance in your living room. Another powerful factor is weight. If you're carrying extra pounds, especially around your waist, your heart has to work harder to pump blood, and that raises your pressure. But here's the encouraging part. Even a small amount of weight loss, just 5 to 10 pounds, can make a measurable difference. I once had a patient in his early 60s who decided to cut back on soda and chips. He didn't overhaul his entire lifestyle overnight. He simply swapped out a few habits. Over a couple of months, he lost 12 pounds, and his blood pressure dropped enough that he didn't need medication anymore. He told me he felt like he got a second chance at his health. Stress is another piece we can't ignore. We all know that feeling when life piles on. Maybe it's family worries, financial concerns, or even the news on TV. Stress hormones can temporarily spike your blood pressure, and if stress becomes chronic, it keeps your body in overdrive. That's why finding ways to relax and let go is so important. For some, it's prayer or meditation. For others, it's gardening, painting, or simply sitting on the porch with a cup of tea. I often encourage patients to try slow, deep breathing exercises, just inhaling gently through the nose, holding for a moment, and exhaling slowly. Doing this for 5 minutes can calm your body and lower your blood pressure in the moment. Another habit that matters is sleep. Poor sleep doesn't just make you feel groggy the next day, it directly affects your blood pressure. Think about those nights when you toss and turn, and then the next day, everything feels harder. Over time, that lack of restorative sleep stresses your cardiovascular system. So, I advise setting up a bedtime routine that signals to your body it's time to wind down. Maybe it's dimming the lights, turning off electronics, and reading a calming book. Creating a restful space can make a big difference. Of course, we also need to mention alcohol and tobacco. Excessive alcohol raises blood pressure, so I recommend moderation. No more than 1 drink a day for women and 2 for men, if at all. As for smoking, it tightens your blood vessels instantly, and that's harmful not only for blood pressure, but for your entire cardiovascular system. I know quitting is difficult, but every cigarette you avoid gives your body a chance to heal. The last point I want to emphasize is regular monitoring. Having a home blood pressure monitor can be one of the most empowering tools. It's like checking your car's dashboard. You want to know how things are running before problems develop. I tell my patients to measure at the same time each day, perhaps in the morning before coffee, and keep a little log. That way, you see your progress, and it helps your doctor guide you with accurate information. Now, let's think about this together. Imagine your future self a few months from now. You've been eating fresh foods, walking regularly, practicing a few minutes of breathing exercises, and sleeping better. Picture yourself at your next checkup, and instead of worrying about that blood pressure reading, you're smiling because the numbers have come down naturally. That sense of control, of freedom from worry, is something you absolutely deserve. One area we haven't explored deeply yet is hydration. Staying properly hydrated is something many people overlook, but it's vital for blood pressure control. When you don't drink enough water, your blood can become thicker, which makes it harder for your heart to pump. That increases strain and can push those numbers higher. I've had patients in their 70s who told me they rarely felt thirsty, so they simply forgot to drink. It's common as we age because our sense of thirst naturally declines, but the body still needs that fluid. A good rule of thumb is to keep a reusable water bottle handy throughout the day. Take small sips often, rather than waiting until you feel thirsty. If plain water feels boring, try adding a slice of lemon, cucumber, or even a splash of unsweetened cranberry juice. It can make hydration more enjoyable, and your blood vessels will thank you. Another helpful tool is to understand how certain foods can act almost like medicine. Take beets, for example. Beets contain natural nitrates, which help relax blood vessels and improve circulation. I had one patient who started drinking beet juice a few times a week, and his numbers consistently dropped. Garlic is another food that has been shown to support healthy blood pressure. Using it fresh in cooking not only boosts flavor but also benefits your heart. Dark chocolate in moderation can also be helpful because it's rich in flavonoids that relax blood vessels. Isn't it wonderful to think that some of your favorite foods could actually be part of the solution? Let's also consider the role of caffeine. Coffee is such a big part of American life, whether it's grabbing a cup at the diner, sipping it while reading the morning paper, or enjoying it with friends. But caffeine can cause a temporary spike in blood pressure. For some people, that spike is mild, but for others, it's significant. I encourage patients to pay attention to how their body responds. Try checking your blood pressure before and after your morning coffee. If you see a jump of 5 to 10 points, it may be worth switching to half calf or limiting yourself to 1 cup a day. The goal isn't to take away enjoyment, but to find a balance where you can still savor your routines without harming your health. Now let's talk about community and connection. Believe it or not, loneliness and isolation can impact your blood pressure too. Stress hormones rise when you feel alone, and that chronic stress can contribute to hypertension. I've seen seniors who lived alone and rarely socialized struggle more with their numbers compared to those who stayed engaged with friends, family, or community groups. Something as simple as attending church gatherings, joining a walking club, or volunteering at a local food pantry can give you that human connection your heart truly benefits from. It's not just about emotional health, it's physical health too. Another lifestyle factor is posture and breathing throughout the day. Many people don't realize that sitting slouched or shallow breathing keeps the body in a low level stress mode. When you sit up straight, open your chest, and take slow, steady breaths, it tells your nervous system to relax. I sometimes guide patients through a very simple exercise. Sit comfortably, place a hand on your belly, and breathe in until you feel your hand gently rise. Then breathe out slowly, longer than your inhale. Doing that 5 or 6 times can lower tension almost instantly, and with it, your blood pressure. I'd also like to touch on the importance of sunlight and vitamin D. Spending a little time outdoors, letting the sun hit your skin, safely of course, can support your cardiovascular health. Low vitamin D levels have been linked to higher blood pressure. Just 15 to 20 minutes of sun exposure a few times a week, along with foods like salmon, fortified milk, or a doctor-approved supplement, can help keep your levels healthy. Imagine combining a short walk outside with that sunshine. You'd be working on both exercise and vitamin D at the same time. Now let's reflect on alcohol again for just a moment. Many Americans enjoy a glass of wine or beer with dinner, and in moderation, that can be fine. But if you find yourself pouring that second or third glass regularly, it may be adding silent stress to your heart. I had a gentleman in his late 50s who came to me with stubbornly high blood pressure. He swore his diet was clean and he walked every day, but when we went over his lifestyle, he realized his nightly 2 glasses of wine had crept into 3 or 4. Once he cut back, his readings improved noticeably. Sometimes it's those hidden habits that make all the difference. Finally, let's talk about mindset. The way you think about your health matters. If you approach lifestyle changes as punishment, they won't stick. But if you see them as gifts you're giving yourself, a stronger heart, more energy to play with your grandkids, a longer life to spend with loved ones, they become sources of joy. I once had a patient tell me, "Doctor, I used to dread my daily walk. Now I think of it as my me time, my chance to pray, breathe, and clear my head." That shift in perspective turned the walk into a highlight of his day, and not surprisingly, his health followed. Let's step into something very practical. Grocery shopping. For many of my patients, what ends up in their shopping cart directly shapes their blood pressure. One helpful strategy is to shop the outer aisles of the grocery store where the fresh produce, dairy, meat, and whole foods are usually located. That's where you'll find foods closest to their natural state. The inner aisles are where most of the processed, high sodium and sugary items live. I tell folks, if you can make the majority of your choices from the outer ring of the store, you're already halfway to a healthier blood pressure. Reading food labels is another powerful skill. Many Americans don't realize how much sodium sneaks into foods that don't even taste salty. A single can of soup, for example, can contain over 800 milligrams of sodium. That's more than half of what I'd recommend for the entire day. So when you're holding an item, take a quick glance at the nutrition facts. If the sodium per serving is more than 150 milligrams, it's worth considering a lower salt option. And watch out for serving sizes. Sometimes that small bag of chips lists 2 or 3 servings, which means you're getting double or triple the sodium if you eat the whole thing. Meal prep is another area where small habits pay off. I often encourage patients to cook a larger batch of something healthy at the beginning of the week. For example, roasting a tray of vegetables, carrots, zucchini, sweet potatoes, with a drizzle of olive oil and herbs can give you a ready-to-go side dish for several meals. Pair that with grilled chicken or salmon, and you've got heart-healthy meals that save time and stress later. That way, when you're tired at the end of the day, you're less tempted to reach for frozen dinners or fast food, which often spike blood pressure. Now, let's touch on exercise modifications for seniors because I know many worry about joint pain or physical limitations. Walking is fantastic, but not everyone can manage long distances. That doesn't mean you're out of options. Chair exercises can be a wonderful alternative. Simple movements like seated leg lifts, arm circles, or gentle stretching can improve circulation without strain. I've seen folks do these right in their living room while watching their favorite shows. Even gardening, bending, digging, lifting light pots counts as activity, and gives your body the movement it needs. The important thing is to find what feels enjoyable and sustainable. I also want to address something that comes up often in my conversations with patients. Doctor, is it too late for me to make a difference? And my answer is always, no, it is never too late. I once cared for a woman in her late 70s who had been told for years that her blood pressure was just part of aging. She felt discouraged, but after committing to daily walks and cooking more meals at home, her numbers steadily dropped. Within 6 months, she felt more energized and confident than she had in decades. That kind of transformation is possible at any age. Another overlooked tool is limiting added sugar. While we usually think of sugar in terms of weight gain or diabetes, it also plays a role in blood pressure. Sugary drinks, sodas, sweet teas, and even fruit juices can cause spikes in insulin, which indirectly affects how the kidneys handle sodium. One of my patients used to drink 3 cans of soda every afternoon. Once he switched to sparkling water with a splash of lemon, not only did his blood sugar improve, but his blood pressure readings dropped consistently. It wasn't about giving up enjoyment, but about finding better alternatives. Let's also not forget the role of routine check-ins with your doctor. Sometimes people feel discouraged when they've made changes but don't see instant results, but blood pressure responds gradually, and keeping that line of communication open helps ensure you're on track. I often tell my patients, think of managing your health like managing a garden. You water, you prune, you care for it day by day, and eventually you see the results bloom. And finally, let's pause and think about your daily environment. The little things around you can either add stress or create peace. For instance, listening to calming music while cooking, keeping plants in your home, or setting aside time to read instead of scrolling through stressful news can lower daily tension. Every small choice adds up. Over time, these quiet habits create a ripple effect, not only lowering blood pressure, but giving you a greater sense of joy and balance. Let's talk about something many of you enjoy: dining out. Eating at restaurants can be one of life's pleasures, whether it's breakfast at a local diner, Sunday dinner with the family, or a special evening out with friends. But it can also be a challenge when you're trying to manage your blood pressure. Restaurant meals are often loaded with hidden salt, sugar, and unhealthy fats. I always encourage patients to take a proactive approach. For example, you can politely ask for dressings or sauces on the side so you control how much you use. Choosing grilled or baked dishes instead of fried ones can make a huge difference. And don't be shy about requesting low-salt preparation. Chefs are used to these requests, and you'd be surprised at how often they'll gladly accommodate you. One of my patients loved going to a popular steakhouse every Friday night with his wife. He thought he'd have to give up the tradition to control his blood pressure, but instead, he learned to swap the loaded baked potato for a side salad, ask for grilled salmon instead of a heavy steak, and drink water with lemon instead of soda. Not only did his blood pressure improve, but he said he actually enjoyed his meals more because he felt lighter afterward. The joy of dining out should never be lost. It's about making mindful adjustments. Now let's shift to travel. Many seniors I see love to take road trips, visit their grandchildren in another state, or even travel abroad. But travel can disrupt healthy routines. Long hours sitting in a car or on a plane, eating convenience foods, and skipping exercise can all nudge blood pressure higher. That's why I suggest simple travel hacks like packing healthy snacks, nuts, fruit, whole grain crackers, so you're not forced into salty fast food options. Take stretch breaks during road trips or walk up and down the airplane aisle when it's safe. Even 5 minutes of gentle stretching in your hotel room can help keep circulation flowing. Carrying a small reusable water bottle ensures you stay hydrated wherever you go. And speaking of family, one of the most powerful ways to succeed in lowering blood pressure is to involve the people you love. Health doesn't happen in isolation. If you're preparing meals, invite your spouse or children to join in healthier cooking. If you're walking for exercise, bring along a neighbor or a grandchild. I remember a grandmother who started daily walks with her 10-year-old granddaughter. At first, it was just for health, but soon it became their special bonding time. They laughed, talked, and created memories together. That not only supported her heart health, but also strengthened her emotional well-being. Let's also not overlook the role of routine and predictability. Our bodies thrive on rhythm. When you eat at consistent times, sleep on a schedule, and maintain steady activity, your blood pressure responds more favorably. It's a bit like tuning an instrument. Once the strings are aligned, the music flows smoothly. I often see patients who skip meals or stay up late watching TV struggle more with their blood pressure, but once they set a gentle daily rhythm, the numbers start moving in the right direction. I also want to mention something that often surprises people: laughter. Yes, laughter truly is medicine. When you laugh, your body releases endorphins, your muscles relax, and your blood vessels open up. I recall a patient who joined a local comedy club with friends just for fun. Over time, she noticed not only her mood improve, but also her blood pressure readings. Something as simple as enjoying a funny movie, sharing jokes with friends, or even laughing at your own mistakes can ease tension and support your heart. Now, I'd like you to imagine your life as a series of small, connected choices. You may not be able to control everything: genetics, the past, or certain stresses, but you can shape the daily steps you take. Each time you choose water over soda, a walk over another hour on the couch, a home-cooked meal over fast food, you're adding a brick to the foundation of better health. Over time, those bricks build a stronger, safer home for your heart and blood vessels. And I want you to know, none of this is about perfection. Life is meant to be lived, enjoyed, and savored. It's about balance, not deprivation. If you love pizza, have a slice now and then, but balance it with a week of wholesome meals. If you miss a walk one day, don't feel guilty, start fresh the next morning. What matters most is the direction you're moving in, not whether every single step is flawless. Holidays and family gatherings are some of the richest, most meaningful times in life, but they can also be tricky for managing blood pressure. Think about Thanksgiving tables full of salty stuffing, creamy casseroles and sweet pies, or Christmas parties with platters of processed meats and cheeses. These foods aren't bad, but when enjoyed in large portions, they can quietly push blood pressure up. I tell my patients, go in with a plan. Take smaller portions of the rich foods you love, but balance them with larger servings of vegetables, salads, or lean proteins. And don't forget to drink water between festive beverages. One woman I worked with decided to make a beautiful fruit salad to bring to her family's holiday dinner. Not only did it give her a healthy option to enjoy, but her relatives loved it too, and it quickly became a new family tradition. Now let's talk about stress relief, because the holidays, and life in general, can come with plenty of it. Stress raises adrenaline and cortisol, and when those hormones surge, so does blood pressure. But you have the power to calm your body's response. Simple rituals can make a huge difference. Lighting a candle in the evening, listening to calming music, or spending 10 minutes in prayer or meditation are all ways to quiet the mind. I sometimes guide patients to keep a gratitude journal, just jotting down 3 things each night that went well or brought joy. Over time, this shifts the brain toward positivity and lowers stress levels. I once had a retired teacher who did this faithfully, and she told me she felt calmer, more centered, and even her blood pressure readings began to reflect that inner peace. Another habit that often gets overlooked is how we wind down before bed. Healthy sleep is one of the most powerful tools for controlling blood pressure, yet many seniors struggle with restless nights. The body needs a signal that it's time to transition into rest. That's why a bedtime routine is so important. Turning off the TV at least 30 minutes before sleep, dimming the lights, maybe sipping a cup of herbal tea, and reading something light instead of heavy news or emails can create the right atmosphere. I even suggest keeping the bedroom cool and dark, almost like a gentle cave for your body to retreat into. When you give yourself that environment, your body can rest deeply, and deep sleep allows your heart and vessels to repair and recharge. Let's also think about the little daily choices that might seem small, but carry weight over time. For example, parking a bit farther from the store entrance so you get extra steps in, choosing the stairs instead of the elevator, or gardening instead of sitting inside all afternoon. These tiny movements add up, and they don't require a gym membership or special equipment. I remember a gentleman in his early 70s who decided to walk laps around his local shopping mall before the stores opened. He liked the safety, the air conditioning, and the chance to wave at other walkers. His blood pressure numbers steadily improved, and he even made new friends in the process. Hydration in the evening also deserves a quick mention. While drinking enough water during the day is important, Loading up just before bedtime can disrupt sleep with bathroom trips. So I usually recommend focusing on hydration earlier in the day, then tapering off after dinner. That way, you still get the benefits of hydration without interrupting your rest. Another powerful point is limiting screen time, especially news or social media that stirs up stress. I've seen patients who spend hours watching late night news programs filled with alarming headlines, and their anxiety feeds into higher blood pressure. Shifting that time to something calming like calling a loved one, reading, or even working on a hobby can make a noticeable difference. And let's circle back to movement one more time, because this is the cornerstone. Stretching deserves special attention. Gentle stretches in the morning or evening improve flexibility, reduce muscle tension, and enhance circulation. You don't need fancy routines, just simple movements like reaching overhead, rolling your shoulders, or stretching your legs. A patient of mine told me she started doing a few stretches before bed, and not only did her body feel better, but she also fell asleep faster. Small practices like this lower tension in the body, which in turn lowers pressure on the blood vessels. I want you to take a moment and picture yourself 6 months from now, having consistently made these adjustments, choosing healthier meals, walking most days, practicing stress relief, and sleeping better. Imagine going to your doctor's office, sitting down for your checkup, and seeing the smile on their face as they tell you your blood pressure looks great. Imagine the relief, the confidence, and the peace that comes from knowing you played a major role in that transformation. That's not just a dream, that's something you can absolutely make real. When we step back and look at everything we've talked about, it becomes clear that maintaining healthy blood pressure isn't about one giant, impossible change. It's about weaving together small, meaningful choices each day that give your heart the best chance to thrive. From filling your plate with fresh, colorful foods, to finding joy in a simple walk around the block, to setting aside moments of calm to breathe and let go of stress, these are not abstract ideas. They are real practical steps that you can fold into your life, starting right where you are. I want you to think about the way these changes ripple outward. When you nourish your body, you also nourish your mind. When you stay active, you feel stronger, not just in your muscles, but in your confidence. When you care for your sleep, your mornings begin with more energy and your days feel lighter. And when you take time to laugh, connect, and share with others, you're not only protecting your heart, you're enriching your spirit. I know that life at this stage can feel like a balancing act. Maybe you're helping with the grandkids. Maybe you're still working part-time. Maybe you're adjusting to retirement and the new rhythm it brings. The truth is, your health is the foundation that allows you to enjoy all of that. Every small choice you make is an investment in more moments, more porch conversations on summer evenings, more holiday gatherings with family, more mornings where you wake up with the energy to do what you love. So let this message be a reminder of your strength and your potential. You don't need to be perfect, and you don't need to change everything overnight. Just keep moving forward, one healthy choice at a time. Your future self will thank you. And I want you to carry with you the hope that it is never too late to improve, to heal, and to create a life that feels good inside and out. My dear friends, thank you for spending this time with me today. I know your time is precious, and I hope you leave this video with a sense of encouragement and a few clear steps you can take to care for your heart and your health. Remember, these changes are not about restriction. They're about freedom. Freedom to enjoy life with more peace of mind, more energy, and more years to share with the people you love. If this message has spoken to you, I'd love for you to stay connected with me. Share your thoughts or your own experiences in the comments. I always enjoy hearing your stories. If you found this helpful, consider giving the video a like. And if you'd like to hear more gentle guidance on staying healthy, feel free to subscribe so we can walk this journey together. Until next time, I wish you calm days, restful nights, and a heart that beats strong with hope. Take good care of yourself and know that you are never walking this path alone.